Miriam had been married to Daniel for 10 years. On the outside, their life seemed almost enviable. They had steady jobs, a modest home with a small garden, 2 cars parked neatly in the driveway. Neighbors often waved at them, commenting on how lucky Miriam was to have such a hard-working husband. But behind closed doors, she carried a hunger that grew heavier with each passing night. It wasn't food she longed for. It was touch, warmth, the intimacy that once bound her to Daniel in their younger days. In the first years of marriage, he would trace her cheek with his fingertips, whispering promises of forever. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, he began to withdraw. His late nights at the office turned into weeks of cold distance at home. In bed, he turned away from her. When she reached for him, he stiffened. Miriam told herself it was stress, fatigue, the burden of life. She tried patience. She tried to be understanding. She tried everything, cooking his favorite meals, surprising him with new dresses, even attempting to speak about her loneliness. But every time, Daniel brushed it off with a clipped excuse. "I'm tired. You're imagining things. Not tonight." His rejections cut deeper than he realized. Miriam began to shrink, her laughter growing rare, her body carrying the weight of unmet needs and unspoken questions. What she didn't know was that Daniel's hunger found its feast elsewhere. For nearly 2 years, Daniel had been seeing Celeste, a woman he met at a corporate event. Celeste was younger, vibrant, and adored the chase. With her, Daniel felt alive in ways he no longer allowed himself to feel with Miriam. He would take Celeste to restaurants, whisper into her ear at dimly lit bars, and give her the side of himself that Miriam thought had died. He gave Celeste all the tenderness and fire he withheld from his wife. But leading 2 lives requires lies. And lies, no matter how carefully spun, eventually fray. One evening, Miriam found herself alone at the dining table again. She had prepared Daniel's favorite dish, waiting for him long past the hour he said he'd be home. She finally opened his laptop to check an email for him, hoping to help ease his supposed workload. That's when the truth unfolded. Messages, photographs, reservations, an entire second life sprawled before her in glowing pixels. Her hands trembled. A strange calm settled over her, colder than rage, heavier than grief. She realized then that she had not only been starved, she had been deceived, dismissed, and forgotten. When Daniel walked in past midnight, smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't hers, he found Miriam sitting in silence with the laptop open in front of her. Their eyes met, and for the first time in years, she saw him clearly, not as her husband, not as the man she once adored, but as the architect of her suffering. There were no screaming matches, no broken dishes, no dramatic ultimatums. Miriam simply stood, her voice steady though her heart was splintering. "I know, Daniel. I know everything, and I won't be hungry anymore." With those words, she walked away, not just from the dining table, but from the prison of neglect he had built around her. The weeks that followed were not easy. She grieved, she cried, she questioned herself. But slowly, she began to rebuild, brick by fragile brick. She joined a local writing club, began walking in the mornings, and for the first time in years, she looked at herself in the mirror with honesty. The scars were there, yes, but so was her strength. Daniel, meanwhile, discovered that outside passion rarely replaces the quiet strength of loyalty. Celeste, once thrilling, soon grew restless. She was never going to sacrifice her life for him. And Daniel, standing in his now too quiet house, realized the hunger he had ignored in Miriam was also his own emptiness. But it was too late. Miriam had already stepped into a life where she no longer waited for someone else to feed her spirit. She was learning to nourish herself, to bloom in the soil of her own resilience. And Daniel was left to live with the silence he had once imposed on her.